I never thought it would go this far. It was supposed to be a joke, just a drunken curiosity on a Friday night while browsing the dark corners of the internet. I'd heard about the dark web, how you could find anything there. Drugs, illegal weapons, and even hitmen. But it was all rumors, right? That's what I told myself as I clicked deeper, my screen a black void with strange text, symbols, and hidden marketplaces. I found a site. It looked so simple, too simple for what it promised. Professional services, it said. Listing options, surveillance, intimidation, elimination. I hovered over the last one, elimination. The anonymity was intoxicating. No one knew who I was, what I was doing. I typed in a random name, a coworker who had annoyed me recently. It was all a joke, I kept reminding myself. For $5,000, a man's life would be wiped out just like that. I typed in the details of the target and even attached a photo I'd found on his social media. My hand trembled as I hit submit. A confirmation message blinked on the screen. We'll be in touch soon. It wasn't real, I told myself, laughing nervously as I shut the laptop. There was no way this was legit. But that night, I couldn't sleep. My phone buzzed with a notification at 3 a.m. An encrypted message. Job accepted. Payment received. My stomach dropped. I never transferred any money. It was impossible. I deleted the message and tried to forget about it, but over the next few days, things started happening. I saw the guy, my target, at work the following Monday. He looked off. His usual cocky smirk had vanished, replaced by a nervous, hunted look. He was jumpy, checking his phone constantly and glancing over his shoulder. I tried to brush it off as paranoia. It was just a coincidence. But then, he disappeared. 2 days passed, and there was no sign of him. His desk remained empty, and the office was buzzing with rumors. Some said he quit, others mentioned a family emergency. I couldn't shake the feeling in my gut. That night, my phone buzzed again. Target eliminated. Your debt is paid. I stared at the message, cold sweat dripping down my back. I never paid them. I never wanted this. The next day, there was a news report. His body had been found in an alley, mutilated beyond recognition. My hands shook as I watched. This wasn't real. It couldn't be real. But it was. Then, another message came through, simple and chilling. You're next. I never placed an order. I never paid. But the dark web doesn't care. They know me now. They know everything. And they're coming for me. I've always kept to myself. It's easier that way when you're in my line of work. No ties, no attachments, just the job. I've been doing this long enough to know that emotions are liabilities, and I've had my fair share of near misses to prove it. But this job? This one was different. It started like any other. An envelope slid under my door, no return address, just a name and a photograph. The man in the picture was older, mid-60s, with graying hair and a tired look in his eyes. The note simply said, "Make it clean, no mistakes." It didn't say who wanted him gone or why. It never does. I started my routine, surveillance, patterns. This guy was regular clockwork. Same coffee shop every morning, same walk in the park in the afternoon. No security, no company, easy target. Too easy. But something about him made me pause. He looked haunted, like a man who had nothing left to lose. I ignored it, focusing on the task at hand. Emotions are liabilities, I reminded myself, but every time I watched him, a knot formed in my gut. It was a cold morning when I made my move. I followed him to his favorite park, the one with the old oak tree by the pond. The place was deserted, just the two of us. I approached him from behind, my hand steady as I pulled out the silenced pistol. He turned around slowly as if I knew I was there. Our eyes met, and in that moment, everything changed. "You're here to kill me, aren't you?" he said, his voice calm, resigned. I hesitated. No one had ever confronted me like that before. He sighed, rubbing a hand over his face. "I figured it would come to this. I've made a lot of enemies over the years." I lowered the gun slowly. "Why don't you run?" He shook his head. "Running won't change anything. I've done terrible things I regret every single day. Maybe this is my punishment." Something in his voice got to me. I knew that tone all too well. The voice of a man who had seen too much, done too much. It was like looking in a mirror, seeing the ghost of my future self. I wanted to tell him to fight back, to beg for his life, but he just stood there, waiting for me to pull the trigger. "Who sent you?" he asked. "I don't know," I replied honestly. "I never do." He nodded, as if that was an answer enough. "Do what you have to do." My hand trembled for the first time in years. I couldn't do it. I couldn't pull the trigger. For the first time, I questioned everything. My life, my choices, my purpose. I lowered the gun completely, shoving it back into my jacket. "Get out of here," I muttered. "Go, before I change my mind." He looked at me, surprise flickering across his face. "Why?" "Because maybe we both deserve a second chance." Without another word, he turned and walked away, disappearing into the misty morning. I stood there for what felt like an eternity, the weight of my decision settling in. I knew there would be consequences, that my employers wouldn't be happy, but for the first time in my life, I didn't care. I walked away from that park, from that life. It was time to start over. To find out who I could be without the gun. Maybe it's too late for redemption, but it's never too late to try. As I left, I glanced back at the park one last time. The oak tree stood tall and unwavering, a silent witness to my choice, and for the first time in years, I felt something close to peace. It all started as a joke, just a twisted, drunk dare between friends. We were gathered around the living room one night, tipsy on cheap whiskey and bored out of our minds. That's when Mike brought up the idea of hiring a hitman. "You won't do it. I bet you can't even find one online." Never one to back down, I grabbed my phone and started searching, half laughing as I typed, "hire a hitman," into the search bar. Of course, nothing came up. At least nothing real. But then, after a few more searches and some digging, I found it. A website that looked old, glitchy. It was buried under layers of obscure links and passwords. I wasn't sure how I got there, but suddenly, there it was. Hitman for hire. Discreet. Professional. We all laughed, thinking it was some prank site, but curiosity had a hold on me. Mike egged me on, so I filled out the form. Name, location, reason for the hit. I typed in some random name, no one we knew, some fake details just to see what would happen. I didn't expect anything after that. We laughed about it, finished the whiskey, and forgot about it. But a few days later, I received an email from a strange address. It was brief. "Your request has been accepted. Payment required within 48 hours. My stomach dropped. I hadn't provided any payment information. I hadn't even signed up properly. How did they get my email? I ignored it, assuming it was a scam. But the next day, another email came through. This time with a chilling detail. Job in progress. Target will be eliminated. Payment still due. That night I couldn't sleep. It felt like a bad dream. A joke that had spiraled out of control. I tried to laugh it off, but the knot in my stomach kept tightening. The next morning, I woke up to reports of a brutal killing. The name of the victim was the exact same random name I typed into the form. I felt sick. It couldn't be real. I didn't even know that person existed. But there it was, the name and the gruesome details. I stared at my phone, hands shaking as another email pinged through. Job complete. Payment required immediately. I closed the email and blocked the address, but they kept coming. More emails, each more aggressive. I started to hear strange sounds outside my apartment at night. Footsteps, scratches on the door, and then, one night, the final email came. You didn't pay. We found a new target. Attached on the email was my name and my address. There was no way to stop it now. They were coming for me, and my final moments on Earth wouldn't last long.